Hey ratbags, it's Jade. Welcome to a PALWORLD guide. Today, an important video warning you not to use a certain item. As you can see, I'm at level 50 and I've run out of technology points. I've done a fair bit of the game with only maybe £25 left maybe to go and capture still. But I've realised I want to reset. There's so many things here that are just useless to me after trying out different saddles or decoration things that I just don't really need or want. I found it quite strange there wasn't this ability here on the menu, but then I found out that actually you do go ahead and craft a mind wipe. Just like in Ark and other games, you can reset your unlocks. Problem is, it is locked behind level 43, so you really won't be able to do this for a long time, and you will need a whole ton of more advanced materials that you can only get by crafting factories' production lines. But here's the warning part: if you do go ahead and use that mind wipe, a lot of people are now saying that it actually blocks you from capturing PALs. It's been confirmed by some of the PALWORLD developers in Discord. They're warning people not to use the mind wipe item inside the electric medicine workbench until it's resolved. What it actually does, it will permanently reduce your ability to go ahead and capture PALs. So all the green effigies that you've been collecting, it will reset you to 1, and since the effigies don't respawn, you may find it very hard actually getting back up. Now the patch notes explicitly say here that they found the issue will actually just not be able to be rectified just yet. So even if you went and collected even more effigies, you still wouldn't be able to get the full capture level that you had before. So there we go guys, that was this morning, so it's fresh, hot off the news. I'm sure some of you might not even be at that stage yet where you're reaching that level. But you definitely want to check within the Discord or hopefully my videos to see if it is now currently working. And obviously I know Xbox fans, some of you guys are reporting a whole host of different issues. An update has gone in the works, but it looks like it may take a few days for it to arrive. And that should apply the same for Windows 10 or 11 users too. So knowing that you can't actually reset until level 43, which is like 30 hours into the game at least, maybe even more depending on your settings, I'm going to do a brief breakdown, not a full guide, but just talking more about the actual technology stuff that I think you should probably avoid or maybe isn't worth your time, and some of the stuff that absolutely you should get. So if you don't want any of that actually spoken about or shown, then you can click off now. Bye bye. Obviously weapons and these unlocks, you pretty much unlock them all. They've all got their various uses, but things like the alarm bell and the hanging trap I still don't think are necessary. As soon as you hit one enemy or an enemy hits you when you're attacked in a raid, all your pals will just go and fight anyway, so there's no real need to put them on alert status, and it's a waste of points. Same with some of these traps. Unless you're going to put about 50 down in one area, pals often will just not walk on them. I'm not too sure if some food can be dropped or a way to lure them. The idea is that you just leave them, and overnight you might come up or wake up in the morning and find some smaller creatures. But again, I still don't think it's worth it. And that's what effectively I'm going to do, is point out the things I don't think are worth your time, since most of the stuff you are going to need. Obviously it's always up to you how you decorate your homes. I'm not big on decoration. I certainly wish I hadn't spent some of my technology points on some of these structures. Obviously when it comes to creatures, a lot of them are going to have saddles and special items that allow their abilities to be used. You will find out what their ability is. If you actually take a look at them, you can see what their partner skill is once you've captured one. So really pay attention to it and see if it's what you want. I am working on the guide right now, but I'm trying to get every tame I can that you can ride to obviously show the best mounts. It doesn't always run that lower level actual tames will be worse. So far the direwolf is absolutely still one of the fastest land creatures I have found, and I've unlocked a ton more. So if you can't wait for my video, I'm sure there's others out there already or guides. Look into what you want to spend your points on. One thing I neglected, and I don't know why, but I thought it was more of a cosmetic item, even though I'd gone and bought an item, a headpiece from the trader. But these can give you extra protection. That said, I still found that the ones I bought from the trader were more than good enough for a good long while. Much later on, you will get specific helms that you can use instead, and these are going to give you a lot more protection. So I'd buy the ones from the trader first, and then wait until you get to level 23 before you start crafting stuff like this. Obviously armor is important, and if you're exploring some biomes that need extra protection against the elements, then of course you will need some of these resistant armors. But you don't necessarily need higher level armors to go into the hottest areas. I recently ran around the lava zone thinking that I would need the best armor to survive, but actually as long as it's heat resistant it seems to do the job. But of course you won't have as much protection. The thing that you really want to make sure you're unlocking are shields. These will give you much more protection. They obviously get hit first, and then obviously your armor makes up the difference depending on what level you are and how much HP you've got. A lot of the items you do have to actually make as part of the tutorial to keep leveling up your boxes, so always do that and make that a focus, as that means you can set up even more power boxes, and you can set up mining bases or just extra respawn points all over the map. You get a maximum of 3, so it's definitely worth upgrading. I have fully upgraded and unlocked all of the power boxes now, so that means I have a total of 60 pals working for me at my factories or homes. So definitely always craft exactly what it says to do, and always try and keep a few points knowing that you might need to work on one of these soon. Base defense, it is important if you're getting raided a lot, but I found I didn't start getting raided until I unlocked much later gear. For sure though, you definitely want to unlock the stone build set as quickly as possible. That's at level 18, as it doesn't burn, unlike wood. Even having a bunch of water pals around, you could still run into issues. I literally had 10 of my strongest water pals and they couldn't put out the fire, so I lost pretty much all of my wooden parts of my giant castle I built. Now outfits as well, you do find a bunch of schematics in chests, so I don't think it's necessarily worth actually buying or unlocking these, as you'll be able to craft them without the need for them. As long as you've got the blueprints within your base, you will be able to go ahead and make whatever it is. So don't necessarily craft these, just get yourself to the trader, and again that's probably easy to find now online. Water tames are interesting. They do help in terms of stamina use, so you can pretty much get across water a lot quicker and easier, but even so, there's not that many places where you can't find a land bridge. For sure some water tames are going to be useful, but I don't necessarily think you need to actually ride a bunch of them. Not until you've got an abundance of points and you really want to see what one's like. The meat cleaver is vital if you want to get extra resources from pals you've captured. If you don't know by now, you can go ahead and you can kill your own pals. They have to be thrown by you, and then you can simply click on right stick and then you can butcher them. You'll get about double the resources that you normally would from them, but it's actually still not guaranteed that you'll get the drop that they do drop. Remember, not all pals always drop every single resource that they may have. It still seems to be a bit one-off sometimes. Instead, I would actually just sell your pals if you really want to, unless you're desperate for actually finding more of the resource that you need. The monitoring stand, you can make your pals work a bit harder. If you do that though, they just generally move quicker and may pick up a few more items, but they don't necessarily work faster. That skill is tied to the individual pals themselves. For the same reason that it burns, I wouldn't actually bother with wooden defensive walls. If you unlock stone, go ahead and build yourself a stone, maybe outlier fence, or wait until you get better defenses. You can unlock metal later on. For sure, you want to always upgrade your tools so you can get more resources as quick as possible. So the metal pickaxe especially, but I've never gone bothered with anything past my metal axe, as I didn't really see the point. As long as you've got the logging yards, you won't really need to go ahead and upgrade your axes past that point. You've got all these small little infrastructure items that can increase or improve either performance or will actually provide heat or cold. These are definitely more designed so that at night time you don't have to always have a torch equipped, and likewise so that you can keep your place nice and warm if you are building a base in the snow. Then you've got the other stuff. This is what actually improves performance. And I neglected this way too late because it needed so many ingots, and ingots were hard to come by. I was intent on making a lot of the production stuff, but honestly, because it takes so long to craft and make stuff, these are really vital, especially the large toolbox and the flame cauldron. Although some of them are quite cheap, like the silo as well, and that helps with farming. So if you've got resources, go ahead and make them, but some things I don't know if you really need them, like the cooler. No point doing that unless you're building in the desert. Then we move on to guns. I really just wouldn't bother with the musket. Save your resources until you're able to craft and unlock a better gun. Either the makeshift gun or a few levels later the handgun. Another thing I've been neglecting, and I really wish I hadn't, are mines. Maybe not the first one that you unlock, which is level 30, but electric mines and the ice mines, they can actually help capture tames. Frozen pals are easier to capture, likewise electric ones are too. Obviously spheres are important. Yes, you do want to absolutely upgrade and unlock lots of these. But again, make sure you've got enough resources to go ahead and be able to craft the production lines that needed. At some point you're going to need the sphere assembly line. and the second version of this to craft the best spheres if you want to capture the highest tames. So you do have to pretty much make all these as part of the tutorial or the PAL box upgrades. If you are building a mining base, you may have seen this trick where you plonk down just a PAL box, have all of your mining characters come out. As long as they've got level 2 in mining, they'll be able to go ahead and mine ore. So if you put one of these down, it can really make it much quicker. You need wheat farms to progress and upgrade the PAL boxes, but the rest of the stuff I'm not too sure, like tomatoes and stuff. I don't really see the benefit of it. There's plenty of other foods that you can craft without needing this, and it's just an extra few points. Same goes really for lettuce. And grenades, they can be a bit weak sauce. You'll pick up plenty from fighting lots of the NPC enemies that you find, the humans, specific types of them anyway, but they don't do that much damage. Well, not when I use them against the boss. Maybe some of the shock ones and stuff like that will do more. Anything that's improved, like the furnace, you have to pretty much go through to craft some of the new ores, so you'll do that anyway. And then you've got all these components that you can only make when you've got the production line set up. So if you've left it for a while and somehow forgot to maybe upgrade some of the productions or unlock them, you won't be able to make carbon fibre until you've got a production assembly line. Large PAL beds, yeah, they're okay, and it's part of the tutorial, so you have to do them, but I wouldn't necessarily waste loads of resources making them. The smaller beds or medium beds are just fine. And refrigerators and cooling boxes are okay, but you do have to make sure you've always got an ice PAL present, otherwise eventually it does run out and it just becomes a normal storage box. And obviously at the moment we all know you can right click in your inventory and it resets the timer anyway, or placing an item back in a different box will actually reset the timer. The bigger chests obviously give you a lot more space, but I would say you could live without them if you're trying to conserve on the amount of ingots that you're crafting and using. And don't bother with gliders. You'll start getting a whole ton of tames that can do the same job or even in fact better. In fact, one of the best ones is Hang You, as you can actually move up when you're using him. I do find that a lot of the creatures that have guns and weapons are kind of gimmicky and maybe not worth investing in. I found it was much more interesting seeing what they'd be like to use as transport. Some of the creatures I have unlocked that have got guns, it's funny seeing them use it for 2 seconds, but honestly I'm not too sure they do that much damage. Maybe some of the later ones for sure, but it kind of put me off wasting any of my points. The sword is pretty OP, it does 500 damage with each hit, so definitely craft that once you get to the later stages. An electric furnace you will need if you want to make the PAL metal, which you're going to need to be able to craft a lot more advanced items. And then when it comes to here, honestly, I think the PALs do a great job on their own of fighting, so I don't really see why I need to have maybe the best guns. I've been taking bosses on with just a crossbow and my handgun. When it comes to ancient technology, for sure it's absolutely necessary you get the egg incubator. Picking up all their eggs is your best chance of getting some more advanced or really far-flung PALs. The small feed bag is kind of, yeah, okay. It'll open up a slot and you'll simply be able to go ahead and put food inside it. So you don't have to keep eating, it'll just take one from it whenever you're hungry. I would actually save your points though. And really you want to get the PAL essence condenser first, as that means you can sacrifice your PALs to make them stronger. The grapple gun is alright. It can certainly help when you're climbing some cliffs, so definitely recommend it, especially if you haven't got a flying PAL yet. But it is a little bit janky at times. The next big item though that was really helpful was the hip lantern. This just gives you permanent light whenever you're running around. No need to carry a torch. And I'm yet to use the single shot sphere launcher. It looks like it will be able to capture more distant PALs, but most of the time you've got to go and do damage to them at least, so it makes it kind of a bit useless for me. But if you start defeating bosses, you probably will have more ancient points that you can actually use. I would actually say Lily Spear could be an alternative to the sword, as it does pretty much the same damage with only a slight little slowness in difference. Whatever you do, do not buy the decal gun set. It basically allows you to craft a special decal gun that allows you to fire certain stickers or pictures of PALs. There's 5 of them. You can get Relaxosaurus, Anubis, Melpaca, Lamball and Cativa. They'll use up quite a lot of your ingots and ancient civilization parts, and the ammo for it uses high quality power oil, which is hard to get hold of as it only drops from the Mammorests and some of the later game PALs that you come across. And that's what it does, which would be fine, but it doesn't actually last. It doesn't stay where you've actually fired it, it will disappear. So hopefully that gets changed in the future. At the very least, it should stay there if you want to decorate your base a little bit more. But right now, it's absolutely useless. They do 1 damage if you fire at any kind of creature. So please don't waste your money. Please don't waste any points on it. Last thing I will say as well, obviously if it says electric, it's going to need an electric charge. So make sure you've got some actual proper shock charge pals that can actually power up your generator. And that's pretty it. Obviously, like I said, there's lots of cosmetic items that I'm sure it'll be up to you whether or not you want to mess around with them. As soon as it's fixed, I'm going to reset all my points, or I might even risk it now, as I do want to see what a lot of the other pals, saddles and items do. Just a little FYI, don't forget as well, in key items is where you see all of your saddles, as well as any bags and items that you've crafted, like the lantern. So if it's seemingly disappeared, it hasn't. It's literally just inside this little area here. So there we go. Hopefully that's useful. Obviously it's all subjective. I'm sure there's going to be items that you always absolutely feel you need to have. But with over 45 hours in the game now, having taken out so many bosses and upgraded max level, I feel there's some solid tips. I will be doing more focus guides on the crafting benches and some of their uses. So make sure you're subscribed. And until then, I'll see you later.